Okay, welcome to our last bit of Illustrator. I'm going to show you how to easily draw some simple shapes by using the shapes that you already have built into Illustrator. So let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to look for my file, and here we are. Okay, as you can see, I've got some shapes on the bottom layer to give you some guidance. And so instead of making a different page to put this on, I'm going to have us just do it right on top on the work here. So let's go to Window and let's go to Brushes. Okay, whenever we have brushes, we have brushes and symbols. So the first thing I'm going to use is I'm going to use the symbols. So here you have some symbols that you can use. There's some leaves, there's some texture. I think they called that one grass, yeah. And there's leaves. If you click the little pop-down menu, you can go and look at a whole library. Okay, so we have so many things to choose from here. You can actually even download things from the internet, some plugins that will, some are free, some of them you have to buy. So let's see, Florid Vector Pack. Let's see what's in there. No, there's not any. I was thinking floral, sorry. It's kind of been a long day. Nature. Nature would be a good one. So this one has some leaves, it has some grass, it has some bugs. So I am going to just choose the oak leaf. So I'm going to push this all over there. Okay. So I've got my oak leaf loaded up and ready to go. Using your tools, either your pen tool or your pencil tool, it has to be a closed shape. So I'm just going to do this really quick and easy. I'm not going to try and follow along. You can get a little more accurate than me. I'm just wanting this video to not be super long so that you don't get completely bored. Okay, so now I've closed that. I'm going to open up this middle part so that it's totally open. I'm going to make it a little bigger. Okay, so I am going to choose my oak leaf. And let me remind you, you need to turn on your control bar and you need to make sure your advanced toolbars are on. Okay, so this tool, this symbol tool, it isn't something that you draw a line and the symbols show up on it. It is a spray. So we've got a symbol sprayer here. And there's a lot of things you can do to symbols, but I'm just going to show you the very easiest one. Okay, you can make this bigger or littler, whatever you want to do. I'm going to just leave mine like that. I have this one chosen. You can tell because it has an extra frame around it. So I'm just going to click and just start making some oak leaves. Okay, and that is all I'm going to do on that one. I might put a few more just for the fun of it so that I can crop some of them. Let me move this over. Okay, so we've got a plethora of leaves here. I'm going to make it a little smaller. Now, remember we drew something, so I'm going to make the leaves go behind what we drew. And you can do that by going to Object, Arrange, and Send to Back, or you can do the key command for that. So now we've got to make sure that our shape that we made, I'm going to make that a different color so you can see it better, hopefully. Yeah, you can tell it's on top. So that's all that matters. So select both of those and we are going to apply a clipping path. You remember that from the other lesson. So I'm going to go to Object, all the way down, and do a clipping mask. So the command for that is Command 7. So I'm going to do the key command. I've got both chosen, Command 7, and now it crops it off and makes it have some texture. And that's all well and good. You can draw leaves, you can use the spray one, you can import a photograph that has leaves. It's really up to you, but this way you can make some texture. The next part is the trunk. So I'm going to draw my trunk first, and I'm going to make this, I'm going to get a different color if I can. Okay, I'm going to choose CMYK so that I can get some color in here. I'm going to make this very magenta. So I'm going to draw with my pen tool and make the trunk, and I'm not going to take a lot of time to perfect it, so y'all are just going to have to forgive me and know that I can draw better than this, but I don't want this video to be 2 hours. So here we go. And remember, we've got to close our path. So I've got that drawn. Let's scoot over to the edge. And remember back the first day, the first lesson that we did, we drew just some line segments. So I'm going to just do a line segment. I'm going to make it a little bigger so that it can be seen. I don't want to use that color, so I'm going to choose something that's a little more brown. Okay, because trunks are generally brown. So now I'm just going to hold down the Option key, click that, and just start making a bunch of lines. And I get lazy. I select all of them and do a few more just so I can have a nice grouping without having to make a gazillion lines. I'm going to select that. I'm going to make that smaller. I'm going to make them all be centered so that they're all the same height. And I am going to make them have the same spacing in between, just like we've done before. Okay, so now we've got this spacing. Now we could use that and that would be okay, but let's try some more stuff. I am going to group all of these. I'm going to see if I can turn on my contextual bar, and it is there. I just don't know where it is. It's probably under something that, oh, I turned off my control bar. I want my contextual bar here. Well, it is missing in action. Like I say, probably they have something, Zoom, there it is. The Zoom did have something over it. So let me just move that back down and, okay. So we can group this. So I'm going to group it. And now I want you to go to another tool that we haven't used before. It's this really odd shaped one. It's called the width tool. And it's right there kind of in the middle of the whole bar, right below the rotate symbol right here, rotate tool. It's right there. So I'm going to select that. And you might note that there are several things you can use in here. And I'm just going to start off with the width tool. So what this does, let me get closer. See, it automatically has now this dot that is when you get close to the line, it has this dot in it. Well, let me show you what it does. You click and pull, and it makes it really wide or it makes it really narrow. So you can kind of make this look pretty wood-like just by doing this kind of stuff. So you can make them look any way you want. This looks kind of bad because it looked kind of glitched there. So let's look at some of the other tools that we have at our option. We've got a warp tool. You can kind of move things from one side to the other. I think I'm going to change my stroke size here, see if I can get a little more texture because they're all kind of running together. Okay, that's better. So now I'm going to go back and use the twirl tool. And if it's twirling too much for you, double click that tool and you will get something that you can change it. So you can make it less, you can have more detail, you can simplify by a lot. Okay, so hit return and let's see what that does. Okay, see, I've slowed it down just a little bit. It was kind of out of control and that was default. So you might be interested to know that the default is pretty wild. All right, so we can go through and use each one of these. I'm going to tell you to turn off the video for a minute and use these tools and see how you get things, if you get things that you like. So I have this all grouped, so I'm going to make it a little bit narrower. Now I'm going to bring my tree over here and I'm going to make sure that it's on top. So I'm going to bring it to the top with my Shift Command right bracket. I'm going to make sure that I've got plenty of things to cover everything. I want to make sure that every inch has something in it. Okay. So again, I'm going to select both items and I'm going to do a clipping mask. So Command 7, and now I've got a trunk with some texture on it. So now you can go to your layers and turn off that bottom one and you've got a tree. All right, let's move on to the next one. This one involves a bunch of different shapes. So it's a pretty simple one to do. I'm going to just do the first few and then you guys are going to need to do the rest. I'm going to start out with some simple shapes. I'm going to go to the ellipse tool. I'm going to make myself, oh, I clicked the wrong thing again. I am so sorry. That's why I think that rounded tool needs to go. Okay, so I'm going to make a circle. And now it's not quite a circle. It's kind of a elliptical shape. So I'm just going to pull some down and kind of make it fit. Okay. Now this one is kind of an elliptical tool also, an elliptical thing too. So I'm just going to draw and then I will make that. And then, and you can do some other things like you can use your tools here. I've got my direct selection tool and I'm kind of making it have a little bit more of a shape, kitty shape out of it. Okay, so I'm going to select these two right now, go to my properties and find my Pathfinder, and I'm going to make them all one shape. Okay, so now I've got the outline of the kitty. I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to make a couple of triangles. And I'm going to have to rotate that. Okay, so that's a pretty good shape. So I'm going to make it a little bigger. And I'm going to select it. I'm going to use my reflect tool. And I'm going to make a copy. And move this over here so that its ears are in the right place. Okay, so there we've got the ears. Now I'm going to put them all back together into a kitty shape. Okay, so I have a ways to go on this. You can see that there's a line that continues in the kitty's face. So I'm going to make another, cancel. I'm going to make another circle and I'm going to make this one really small, about 5 points. Now let's get really close. So I'm going to put that right about there. I'm going to pull this down so it's about there. Then I'm going to pull this over and this over, and maybe pull this up a little bit, this down a little bit. Okay, that's pretty close. Now I am not going to make that one a part of this. It's going to sit on top. I'm going to make that smaller yet. Okay, now take a minute to see what you've got. I'm going to pull these in just a little farther. Okay, now that ought to work. Yeah, there we go. Now we can make these a little more rounded by going to our direct selection tool and clicking on the ears. And whenever you're doing two symmetrical things, it's better to do them at the same time so you can pick them both. And now that looks more like a kitty cat ear. You might notice that as we make things bigger and smaller, that these are growing. I don't really want this to be that big. So I'm going to do something that you need to toggle back and forth because there's certainly a use for it, but I'm going to turn it off right now. It's called scale. I'm going to turn off scale, the corners and the effects, because right now I'm working at one size. If I decide that I want to make this larger, I'll turn it back on. So I'm going to make this about 10. Okay, that looks a little better. The cat was getting a little heavy. So now you can do all kinds of things. You can do the little ear flap here. And I'm going to undo that. I'm going to let that go. I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to make that a 5 point. It's good to have a hierarchy of lines. You don't want to have everything the same size, but you don't want everything, you want everything to have its own size to give it its own weight and let people know if it's an inside line or an outside line. Okay, so I'm going to put that there. Okay, I could go on making this with the tool, with this, with the tool, and so forth. But you've kind of got the idea. So what I want you to do is I want you to stop the video for a few minutes and draw your cat. Okay, don't forget the eyes and the mouth and the hands and the feet and the tail. All right, we're back. I am going to show you how to draw a gear. I use the star tool. You know, you could take your pen tool and click around all these and make that, but it would not be as symmetrical and it would not be as fast either. So I'm going to start by making a star, and I'm going to hold down my shift and I'm going to hold down my option so that I can just grow it right here in the center so I can see how big I want it to be. Okay, that's not bad. Now I want to add a few of the radial things. Okay, maybe one more. Yep, there we go. That ought to be good. I'm going to flip this so that it has an actual color here so that you can see what I'm doing on the inside. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do now that I've had the star drawn is I'm going to make an ellipse, and I'm going to make it be the size of this outer rim. Okay, I'm going to make sure I have it, I'm going to have them both selected. I'm going to make sure that it's in the center. And now I'm going to find my Pathfinder and I'm going to unite because I want all of this to be one shape. So I click and now it's all one shape. There isn't a circle here, it's just one shape. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle in the center and have the, they call it a shaft that goes in between. So this is the hole where the shaft goes. So I'm going to select both. I'm going to make sure that it's totally centered. Then I'm going to minus front. I put that on last, so that newest circle I put, the inside circle, is on the top. So it's going to minus the front when I do this. Okay, so now I've got the hole in the middle of that gear. Now I'm going to take my ellipse tool one more time, and I'm going to come out here like this. I'm going to turn this around so I can see what I'm doing. So now I'm going to select this, and I am going to, so I'm going to hit a Command 7, and now I have a gear. So you can do the same thing on all of these. So make a couple more. So go ahead and stop the video and make some on your own. All right, welcome back. We're just going to draw the outline of this glass. We're not going to try and make it look like it's a real glass. We're just going to do a basic illustration of it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my circle, because when I look at a thing that I'm supposed to draw, I look at the basic shapes of it. Like this one has a real rounded shape to it, so that could be the ellipse tool. This is rounded, but it's not really elliptical. It's more like something that is a rectangle, and then of course here we have some more ellipticals. So let's start at the top. And I am just going to go in here and I'm going to draw myself a circle. And let me put some color in that stroke so you can see it. Maybe that color, and I'm going to make it a bigger so you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to get a little closer, take my selection tool and bring this down so that it's kind of resting on the base of the glass. I'm going to pull this up so that it is pretty close to the shape of the glass. I'm going to select these anchors here and hold the shift and pull down so that I am not going crazy. There we go. Do the same thing over here. And it's not very symmetrical, but I will show you a way here in a second to make it much more symmetrical. Gonna take the top one and pull a little bit so that it's more of a kind of flattening out that curve there. Okay, so now how do I get rid of this top? Because that's not what a glass looks like. So it's very simple. I'm going to select the top. I'm going to get my eraser tool and I'm going to make it much smaller because it does not need to be this big. I want it to be relatively small so I can handle it. Okay, I'm going to come right over here, hold down the shift and go across. Holding the shift gives us a nice clean line. So now I'm going to get rid of the extra. And it's looking pretty decent. So now I am going to get my rectangle tool. And I'm going to just do a nice little rectangle like this. I want to get it so that it's centered. So I select the bowl and I select the stem and make sure that it's centered. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the bowl and the stem, and I am going to make it all one shape. So I have gotten rid of where this overlapped. Now I need to shift this in a little bit, and it's kind of a curve. So I think adding a couple of points here is really a good thing. So I'm just going to take it and pull it in, and just take it and pull it in. But you see I've got this little dot showing up, so I'm going to make it have that curve. And I have a dot here, and I'm just going to pull it and make it have that curve. I think I might make these kind of come in a little bit more too, just because they're too thick right there. So I'm just going to pull it in a little bit and pull it in a little bit. Okay, so not super symmetrical, but it's not bad. All right. Next, let's grab those corners and make them round because they are not squared off on the top there. I'm going to select this and make it go up a little ways, and select it the other side and make it go up a little ways. Add myself a point here. Take my direct selection tool and make it into a little point there, but now I've got this corner rounding thing, so I'm going to round the corner just a little bit. I'm going to close that up so you can see what I'm doing, so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to grab my elliptical tool again, and I'm just going to pull one all the way across. Going to make it go up to the top and to the bottom, and select and properties, Pathfinder, and make it all into one shape. So I could stop there, and I think I will. You probably can see some things you could do to make it look a little more realistic. Maybe do these points and make them round, and so on. But let me look at it just one more time. I want to show you something else. There's one side that is absolutely lacking. It's really hard when you're doing symmetrical things by hand like that to make it perfect. So this one's got some good points here, and this one's got some good points here, but I think overall I like the right hand side better. Let me show you how to fix that. I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to take my eraser tool and I go slightly off center. I want it to overlap. So I'm going to erase all this. And now I'm going to get rid of this side. I'm going to select this side, do a reflection, copy, and now I'm going to move this side over here so that I like the way it looks. Got to get it all together. Okay, I think that I'm going to do that. And now I'm going to use my Unite Pathfinder and make it so that it's just totally symmetrical. Not perfect, but we aren't trying to make that glass look like it's real. We're just trying to draw the actual size, actual shape. So you can do some more things like add some liquid there and all that kind of stuff, but that is pretty much what I wanted to show you on this one. So I'm going to stop the video for a few minutes and y'all work on getting this done. Okay, we're back. Now this looks like it's a lot more complicated than the glass was, but it's really not. So just look at it and decide what's an ellipse, what's a line, what's a rectangle, and I want you to redraw all of that. I'm going to stop the video for a minute and let you work on that. Okay, now this is something that is it looks so complicated, it looks so 3D, it just really has a good look for it, but it's so easy to do. So I am going to show you how to make this ball have this blended shape in it with a highlight with just a couple of clicks. First, I need a circle. So I've got myself a circle. I'm going to make that just a little bigger. Okay. So I'm going to fill this. I'm just going to flip this over so that now the color is in the fill and I have no stroke. I'm going to draw another circle. Just about right here. Maybe make it a little bit. Yep, there we go. I'm going to make this yellow. Okay, so right now we've got a circle with a little dot of yellow. And that's okay for a simple drawing. But if you want to take it to the next level, there is a tool right here called the blend tool. It's over near that spray can we used for symbols in an earlier page here. So click that, take your symbol, click in the yellow, click in the green. You don't even have to select it. It just sort of selects itself. And now we've got that rich, beautiful color that makes it look so 3D. Okay, so stop it for a second and work on that, and then we will get to the very final piece of this. Okay, welcome back. What I want you to do on this blank page is I want you to make a landscape, a scene, by using some of these images that you've already drawn. You can draw more if you want to. I'm not going to be opposed to that, but the bare minimum is taking these images and making yourself a scene. You can have a cat sitting under a tree drinking a glass of wine. I have no judgment here. You just use what you've got and make a scene that makes sense. Like, just make a story. Okay, so when you get through with that, you need to save it as an AI and load it up onto Canvas. And next time we are going to go into InDesign. We are getting so close to the end here. So you go ahead and do that one, and I will see you in the next one.